Thank you so much for your time. And Standard Bank has been partnering with Topco Media for the past 10 years. And you've obviously seen a lot of SMEs, startups that having an impact in society. But I do wonder, we're in 2025 now, um, startups like OpenAI are taking over the world. Um, are there conversations that are being heard, um, encouraging women to start up businesses that can compete on that scale?
So I think when you look across, particularly from a South African perspective, we are finding that while there are some women, in that digital space, there still is a lack of businesses operating within that environment. Um, a lot of the SMEs that we do see in the work that we do as Standard Bank is really more of your smaller scale SMEs, SMEs operating in manufacturing. We see a lot of that. Um, but from a digital innovation perspective, there is a gap. And it's a big gap that potentially we need to figure out how do we close that gap and bring more SMEs in. Um, there are quite a few SMEs that focus on, coding. I think it's Go Code. There's one or two of them that really have a focus on that, and it's good to see that because we're hoping that those type of women-owned businesses can start creating opportunities, particularly from a youth perspective, for younger women or younger children, females, to actually want to be in that space and to actually see the opportunities within that
Mm. And these type of startups require a lot of funding.
environment.
It's not just within the normal millions, it's hundreds of millions that need to be invested. Um, and are you guys waiting for that opportunity, or there are some internal conversations that are happening on whether Standard Bank should start venturing in that space and actively seeking out those kinds of startups?
Mm. So there is a team within the bank which does focus on, venture capital funding for SMEs and technology. It's not a big team, so they don't make like big investments, and they always make sure that those investments are aligned to the bank's strategic goals. Um, but there is a massive funding gap for SMEs in tech startups. There was a report by FinFund as well this year, which also found that the funding gap is massive. And we do need to consider in general as a country, how do we start bringing those funders into into the continent, into the country? Um, we don't have a Silicon Valley in South Africa, There's quite a few good tech firms, but even when you look at some of the companies that are in your Zulzis, those type of industries, they've had corporates who have invested in them, So it's an ecosystem where we have to understand, who are those corporates that are aligned to some of those startups, who are those funders that are looking at those entities, and where do banks potentially play in a way where we can also de-risk ourselves.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. What's the one challenge that you noticed is reoccurring for particularly women-owned businesses in the past 10 years? And second one to add to that is, Standard Bank is a corporation,
Mhm.
right? I would imagine, you need to have your ducks in a row if
Mhm.
you require funding from Standard
Mhm.
Bank. Um, red tape,
Mhm.
are the measures to sort of like reduce that?
Mhm. So I think besides the funding piece, access to knowledge or access to information for women-owned SMEs is really big. Um, there's a lot of businesses that don't know what are the type of opportunities that are available to them. Where can they go just to get information, just to get knowledge in terms of how do I run my business optimally? How do I identify opportunities? Who are those corporates that can help me? So that's a big challenge that we're seeing. I think from a Standard Bank perspective, we fund businesses. And I think there typically isn't also a lot of knowledge in terms of the different funding solutions that we have. So yes, we have your traditional pieces of funding where we look at you based on understanding your bank statements, understanding the inflows that have come through, understanding your business. But then we also do enterprise and supplier development as well from a funding perspective for businesses that might not qualify for traditional funding. So there's a holistic business and commercial banking offering. And I always say, if you are looking for funding, even if you are looking for development for your business, the best place is to go to your relationship banker, and they will really help direct you to the right teams within the
Mm, let me put you on the spot.
bank.
um, of all the SNMEs you've seen, which one was your favorite?
No, that's difficult.
What stood out for you?
That is a difficult one.
Or rather, which field do you
Okay.
think is like top notch?
We're seeing a lot of SMEs in manufacturing, and a lot of township-based SMEs in manufacturing. We had a lady who had our Kasi SME Summit a few weeks ago, and we had a lady, Uwahamba, who does prosthetics using a 3D machine. And she lives and operates within the township environment. So when we start thinking about innovation within the township, it's there. Um, in fact, I would say of the SMEs, of the 18 SMEs that were there, 6 out of the 18 were in some sort of innovative field. So they were building things from scratch. They were manufacturing. Um, so there's a lot of innovation that's coming through, and for me, it's very, very positive because what we're also seeing is that we're seeing the right quality of SMEs come through, and those are the SMEs that are the most disadvantaged. Those are the SMEs that require the most support. So the more and more we see that, the more and more we can start identifying them, and the more we can start identifying them, we can start wrapping our arms around them and saying, how do we develop these businesses to become more sustainable and to become scalable and to actually create jobs?
Thank you so much for your time.
It's a
Really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you,
Uh,
Kano.